If you've got hip-hop questions, I've got hip-hop answers. Email me right now at d.podcast@gmail.com. That's d.podcast@gmail.com. Send in your hip-hop related questions, and I will give you hip-hop related answers. This week's question comes from Lamar from Houston. Lamar says, "Hello, Mr. D Respect. What was the deal with Cassidy versus Dizaster? I paid for the Ether event, then the site went down, and when I finally got a hold of it, it was an utter disappointment. Call me crazy, but I think Cassidy won. But how did you see it? Thank you for your answer." Well, thank you for your question, Lamar. Now, the Ether event, I saw it as well this past Saturday, and I gotta say that I just want to comment on the parking lot battle. If you guys don't know, if you tried to see the Ether battle on Saturday, and you were disappointed by the whole shutdown of the event, I'm not going to run through the details of that. I'm sure most of you pretty much know by now. But what I want to comment is on the actual battle. I don't want to look back into Cassidy's verse and Dizaster's verse, both of their first rounds. I'm not factoring that into any of this. The parking lot battle that happened the next day was unexpected. And what I mean by unexpected was I didn't expect Dizaster to come off so weak. Dizaster had a very energetic first round. He had this insane line about karma and how him getting famous off of beating Freeway, and years later he almost got killed by a Freeway. Apparently he's referencing some car accident that Cassidy had. Shit was insane. Cassidy comes in and he does his usual slow shit. And one thing that I predicted beforehand that Cassidy actually did, and I think it went a long way, was Cassidy imitating Dizaster, not just in round one, but at the end of his round two very briefly. I think it was important for Cass to do that because the knock against him is, of course, that he has a very old, laid-back style that isn't considered effective anymore. It's almost like this is MMA and people look at what Cassidy does as karate, like it's been rendered useless. And for the most part, it almost always is. It's just monotone and very simple. I don't think I have to go into the details of what makes that hard to listen to during a rap battle, because I think Conceited just reminded you guys how pathetic that style can be, and Conceited got murdered, and I enjoyed every minute of that, by the way. I agree with you, Lamar. I think Cassidy might have won. And if Cassidy didn't win, maybe it was a draw. I gave the first round to Dizaster. Just no questions asked. He took the first round. Second round, I felt it was a draw. I felt I didn't see much on Dizaster's part, and Cassidy pretty much had a Cassidy verse. Now, round three, there was something. This is where my disappointment came in, really. There was something about Dizaster's demeanor during his round three verse where he almost felt uninspired. The pitch of his voice was different. He didn't go into one of his, intense, aggressive sequences that he normally does. God, you're a herbivore. God, I punch you and throw you to a herbivore. And he didn't do any of that. He just sort of spit this uninspired, sort of just unenergetic verse. And it's almost like Cassidy took him out of his character, or I don't know what the hell happened. Cassidy then ended the whole battle by just, spitting a pretty typical verse. So I guess if I want to judge this on the merits of performance, Cassidy's got it. Because Cassidy was more consistent than Dizaster. And especially, from my perspective, considering the fact that I expect more from Dizaster, I can't say anything past his round 1 that was noteworthy. In round 2, he had this thing going where he was trying to portray Cassidy as some sort of a hypocrite because he used to spit, religious based bars and Cassidy, he obviously talks about being, a thug and killing people and selling drugs. So this is very conflicting. He's a hypocrite. And I felt that he was just getting too twisted in semantics. I think there's only one battle rapper that can get within the nooks and crannies of semantics and fucking petty detail and still make you interested in listening to it. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's Murder Mook. He's the only person that's able to do that. He's the only person that could basically turn anything that you've done during the course of your career and in a few bars just connect it to something where you completely just contradicted yourself and it makes sense. Dizaster tried to do that in the second round, and I don't think it worked for him. I think in his third round, he had a few strong points where, he was obviously trying to point out how simple Cassidy's style was. But by then, I think it was a bit too late. I think there was also a moment where he kind of had forgotten his verse and admitted that he had been sort of sidetracked. So he blanked out for a minute. So I honestly think that Cassidy won the battle. Call me crazy too, Lamar, but I think he won the battle. Now, could you say that there's an asterisk attached to that victory because this was the next day and I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe this is a disadvantage for Dizaster or whatever? No one can say. But from what I saw in front of me, that 45-minute battle, I think Cassidy was the victor. Mainly because, not that it was won by Cassidy, but because the battle was lost by Dizaster. I also want to say that Cassidy, without a doubt, had the best performance of any commercial rapper who has stepped into the battle rap stage. I don't have to mention whether he was better than Cassidy. Sorry, I don't have to mention whether he was better than Cannabis. That's a no-brainer. But he was much stronger than Buttons. I understand that the setting was different. This was obviously in a closed area. But he even seemed comfortable when they were on stage at Ether before everything got shut down. So this is a very positive thing where Cassidy did hold his own. Who's the better MC? It's Dizaster. If they battled 10 times, who would get the best of who? Dizaster would win. But I felt that Cassidy got the best of Dizaster Sunday afternoon, honestly. And I'm a bit disappointed in myself for thinking that, but I've got to be completely objective when I judge these battles. Well, when I observe these battles, I can't, just pigeonhole myself just because I love Dizaster's style. But Cassidy won. If you've got hip-hop related questions, I've got hip-hop related answers. Email me right now at d.podcast@gmail.com. That's d.podcast@gmail.com. And I will see you freaks next week.